already was like, you're a trash woman. She has like a kid who's close to 10 years old, I think. And she just left her kid to come get set up with this felon.
Also, like, you can't find a felon white man in Australia.
Crazy.
It's the land of felons.
But apparently, so she was born in the U.S., so she already had citizenship, which actually is like a knock against her. I'm like, what are you using him for? So she comes here, gets set up. He gets out of prison, and he's using meth. She finds like a needle in his work bag and like meth.
I need to watch this.
She needs a needle and meth in his work bag. Been there, girl. Not the meth, but the needles. I found needles in bags before and lost my.
Yeah.
We broke up right after. It is scary. So then right after they break up, all of a sudden, she said that they got into like a bad enough argument that she had to call the police, and she like snitched on him for using meth, and he's back in jail.
Oh,
right? Mm-hmm. I felt the same way.
No, that's insane.
There has been some like leakings on Reddit that there might have been some domestic violence, and that was part of it. So if that's the case, I take it back.
You guys can go ahead and take it away whenever you're ready.
But I still
Hello. Welcome to Therapy Rebranded, where we're consistently consistent. Ding.
Dang you.
What?
No, sorry, not. Sorry, that would I don't know.
We're not monetized yet. We still got 100 followers. We should celebrate when we get past 1,000.
What do we do?
I don't know.
What's like we'll have to think about that.
Try not to kill ourselves until we get there.
Don't
a live
then
show.
we'll decide.
Cheers to that.
A live show.
Cheers. A live show sounds great. I would love a live show. Could we do it here upstairs?
Yeah, we could do it upstairs.
That would be cute.
We can get some booze. We can decorate it. All kinds of stuff. It'd be fun.
Gosh.
That'd be very fun. That'd be very.
That would be really fun. Have some food. Have some booze. Have some
Reese's Pieces.
I feel like Rachel's very close compared to me. Oh, there you go. I was like, you keep moving out of frame.
Sorry. Yeah.
He asked you ahead of time. Is this where you're saying?
But you know it's like a soft yes. I'm going to move around. Okay.
Absolutely moved.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry, guys.
Scoot. Whatever way.
Oh, I didn't.
Other way. Other way. Okay. Nope. That was the correct way. There you go. Nope. That's perfect.
Okay, there.
That's perfect.
Oh, I can see you better too.
Oh my God.
I'll subtly back her up later too.
I've been
never mind.
I'm feeling like unprepared for these Reddits because I've been like leaking all day, like just like tears on and off the entire day. And some of these Reddits I feel like are going to piss me off. So
let's take it there. Do you want to take it there or no? I should ask.
I'm going to take it there. Yeah. I was telling Rachel earlier, like just halfway through my work day, I literally felt just like my whole body, like I was just like keeling over, like something's wrong in terms of just anxiety. And then I went home to try to like decompress. And I got a call from my leasing office that our neighbors below us called them to complain because they haven't been sleeping at night because there's a cord from our light that's hitting their window. And I don't know why that set me off. It set me off though. I was just laying there aggravated.
Because you know it's not true.
You haven't been sleeping at night?
Because you know it's not true.
And you couldn't just come knock on the door and be like, yo.
You're a snitch. You're a tattletale and a snitch. Yep.
Yeah, call the leasing office.
Or ignore it.
I'm not sleeping at night. It's crazy. You're a martyr. And then you're saying it's hanging onto your balcony. Don't you just throw it up? If it's a little cord hanging from my light, just boop.
If you're that person.
Right.
Do you think you've ever done like a little, I don't think I've never
Karen'd it like that. No.
I've never Karen'd it like that.
No.
Gabe?
No.
He was quiet.
They were like too afraid to come knock on the door.
They're white people, right?
Yeah, I assume so. Yeah.
It's infuriating because you're like, it just feeds into all the things. Like, were you scared of like that? What was the thing? What could have possibly gone wrong?
I don't know. I definitely thought that was going to be a valid complaint though. And then when I heard that, I was like,
no, that's something that makes me want to go smoke a cigarette.
You're sick. You don't even smoke cigarettes.
No, I know. I need a square.
All right, let's read this Reddit. This is going to piss Gabe off. I'm really excited. Go.
I love pissing Gabe off. Gets me hard. My ex and his girlfriend left our daughter unattended at the movie theater. What should I do or say? Oh, I'm pissed already. Hi, everyone.
Wait, hold on. When I first read this, because I haven't read through it, but I just skimmed it. I was like, watch the kid be like 13. And then I think they're like 6. I'm like, no, you got them. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Advice needed. This is from 2 Hot Takes. Hi, everyone. I need advice on how to approach this situation. I, 29-year-old female, and my ex, 31-year-old male, have been separated for almost 3 years and divorced for almost 1 year. We share a beautiful 6-year-old daughter. Our relationship did not end in the best terms. Therefore, our co-parenting relationship has been somewhat rocky. Who cheated? There are times when things are really good and we are able to get along and do things together for our daughter. Then there are times when we just can't stand each other and everything becomes an argument. Well, as of recently, I can honestly say things have been going pretty good. We both agreed to have better communication and work together to make sure our daughter is okay. She is currently in therapy for a couple of reasons, and with the help of her therapist, we decided...
She's currently in therapy because we don't get along and traumatized her.
Literally for a couple of reasons at 6 years old.
And a couple of reasons are mom and dad.
A couple of reasons are her home life.
Her parents, a couple.
I have a story, yeah.
Mom, dad,
and the environment.
Dad's girlfriend, mom's boyfriend.
And
a couple of reasons.
And that nobody's thinking about her. We decided to try our best and have a better co-parenting relationship. Thanks to the therapist.
I bet she did sit y'all asses down and be like, your relationship is ruining your daughter. Please pull it together.
At 6 years old. Like,
At
get it together.
6 years old.
Insane. Imagine being on the earth for 6 years and your parents already ruining your life.
Yeah, I can relate.
Imagine, yeah.
I can relate.
I think they were, but I didn't know it. Fast forward to today. This week is my week with our daughter, so I picked her up from school. I asked her about her day at school and how her weekend was. She mentioned she went to go see the new Moana movie with her dad, his girlfriend, and their best friend's daughter, who is, if not the same age, then approximately around the same age as our daughter. She continues to tell me about the movie and how much she liked it. Then she says, daddy and girlfriend's name left, best friend's daughter, and I alone at the movie theater twice.
Not the laugh.
Insert crazy laugh. I asked her to please explain what she meant by alone, and she continued to say, they left us sitting down and they went to go get the drinks and snacks, and they came back but had to go get the glasses, so they left again. Oh, they went to or smoke. They didn't want us in there. I was shocked. She then proceeded to say that after the movie, they went back to the girlfriend's place so the girls could play, but while they were there, her dad and his girlfriend left to go drop off something and left them alone once again. Now
they do drugs together.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not sex. They do drugs together.
Yeah, they're doing drugs together.
Are the drugs like weed and you're just like a greedy, shitty parent, or are they hard drugs? Guess now. You know what I mean?
Drugs.
Okay. Yeah. Because
you're leaving multiple times during, like, you're high for a minute when you're like smoking weed. Like, you want to sit and watch fucking
Yes,
Moana.
tell us, expert.
Since I've never done anything else. I'm over here like, what? You don't do that with weed? Keep going. No, what do you think they're doing?
I think that they are... they're either like doing hard drugs or like they both like hate parenting and they're just
need
like
need a break.
But I think like also it's hard to tell even with these things, like how long were they gone for the snacks and the glasses, but I'm gonna guess they were gone for a while for the kid to be noticing and saying stuff.
No, sure. This is dangerous territory.
Why?
This really, all I'm hearing with this.
Wait, let's hold on.
Sorry.
No, I want to finish and then go.
Okay.
She mentioned the girlfriend told them they would be right back and to not open the door for strangers. I was speechless.
Oh, because they left them home alone. Oh, I forgot about that. That's worse than the movies. Actually, it's not. The movies are more unsafe.
It is because you left them in public.
Yeah, because imagine like an older guy seeing 2 6-year-olds alone and he's like, this is my opportunity.
Imagine seeing like parents, like you're watching for parents leaving their kids alone. That's insane. I decided to not confront him right away because I knew I would only react with anger. I called my best friend and she was incredibly upset as well. Like, how could they leave 2 little girls in a movie theater filled with strangers and many emergency exits? Literally. I really don't know how to bring this up without causing a fight. What should I do? Update. I sent him a text yesterday stating what my daughter had mentioned. I also stated that I could see how they thought this was best at the moment, but I asked if they could please come up with better solutions so that it could possibly not happen in future outings. That I hoped he understood my concerns and then we could discuss this for his further. His response, we'll discuss this at a later time.
Druggy.
Yeah.
So, Gabe, what were you going to say before I go? Because I'm actually very curious. You're the only one with children and you're co-parenting.
So all that I was going to say is that if there's something that sort of mesmerizes me about parenting sometimes, it's like, and my kids are very attached to me, I guess, but it's like they are so attached to you that sometimes I'm in awe of how short of a time I can be away. And they are like, where have you been? And it's like, I went upstairs to grab the remote or, just minor stuff to where if you're in a bad relationship and if your co-parent is like digging at all for stuff like this, like my kids have absolutely said stuff to my ex and they've said stuff to me about my ex that is alarming and that I have to calm myself down and go, it's probably not this. And then talk to my ex and it really usually is not. I have left the house and gone to the supermarket, like not supermarket, the corner store that is literally half a block away, you know? Mm. And it's like, it didn't go over well. And I didn't feel right about it the whole time. I was gone for maybe 8 minutes, but it's like,
it's still,
there's something about leaving your kids exposed. Yeah.
Especially when they're little, they can't they don't know how to work I don't know, something about not being able to work a phone, or they don't have a phone. They're just
well, the thing, as soon as you said
not you even, but just yeah.
When they told them not to answer the door, that's super alarming, because you don't say that unless you're going to be gone.
I feel like my parents would tell me to not answer the door even if they were stepping out.
Well, you had a sibling. I also, so there's this thing too where it's I feel like when there's two kids together, for whatever reason, parents feel less concerned.
Oh, yes.
So it's real. The two of them are sitting there. I'll just run. The reason why I said drugs or something sketchy is that or you just hate parenting is there's absolutely no reason one of you couldn't have stayed in all of those scenarios.
That's what everybody's saying. But yes. Why did
there's not a reason one of you could have stayed. I think the hard thing about co-parenting, and this came up, I was just a guest on this podcast called Co-Parenting Confessions with Alysha Price, and I think she has a second season coming out in the near future.
Very soon. Yep.
And so
it was a great episode.
It was really good.
Tune in.
It was really good. Look at me working on my marketing. Mm-hmm. So then I did a really good one. And one of the themes that kept coming up repeatedly, we didn't really touch on this directly, but it was in the theme of the entire conversation, which is trust between co-parents. Mm-hmm. So this is one of those things that, to be honest, as a parent, is a judgment call. Mm-hmm. And if the other parent who you're co-parenting with makes a different judgment call, there's not really much you can do about it. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't abusive. That's kind of the line. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that really sucks about co-parenting, is that there's this line of we are two separate parents and individuals. And it'd be great if we aligned on everything, but I don't have to.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the reason why we're living separately, so that I can parent the way I want to parent.
Right, because we couldn't parent together in the same household. Right. So true. So what I don't like is we'll discuss this at a later time, because I feel it's very dismissive.
A little bit threatening. I would feel nervous. Not threatening, but
I don't think it was threatening. I just felt it was dismissive, because I feel when is the undisclosed later time? And maybe he's just tired of dealing with her. And, also with co-parenting dynamics, who knows the story he tells himself? He might be she's just extra mad because the girlfriend was there. Right. Who knows? I don't know their shit.
Yeah. You have the next one?
All right. I'm going to do the next one, and we're not going to do the third one because we've been going forever and we have other things to talk about. But so I'm going to do this second one. It'll be our last one. Okay. So this one is about therapy abuse. That's the subreddit. Is it okay for a psychiatrist to ask if you're a virgin in early sessions? Genuine question. I was around 25 when this happened, but it felt really awkward and irrelevant / off topic at the time. I honestly felt dissected and judged. I'm a female, and so was the shrink. I dropped her after a few sessions unrelated to this, but this got stuck with me. Does anyone else experience something similar? So their therapist asked them if they were a virgin, and it was a woman.
Psychiatrist
asked them if they were a virgin. It was a woman.
I think either way, that shit is weird.
Do you think so?
I ask about in an introductory session. That's what they said in an
early sessions.
In intakes, the most sexual thing that I ask is sexual identity, gender identity, their relationship to sex, things like that. If there's a partner, I talk about what is their sex life like. Mm-hmm. But I would never ask if somebody.
How about on the third visit?
I mean, if they're talking about sex, and I might ask, well, have you had sex before? If that was a thing. But I'm not going to ask if they're
So it's really interesting. So the psychiatrist on inpatient ask if people are sexually active, the kids.
Yeah.
Because they are doing, if you are sexually active, it's recommended that we do a STD screen.
That's normal. Oh, I guess that's the same question. But this is so
So it's really hard without the context of where the question came up. This is really judgy. This isn't therapist me. This is human me, just in the world day to day.
Yeah.
Do you have to be a virgin or highly religious to be offended by that question?
That's what I've been thinking this whole time back here. I'm what kind of prude gets even offended by that?
If you're offended by the question of being a virgin, I feel you either have to be highly religious, have some shit about sex and all of that. And if the psychiatrist said the word virgin, that's creepy.
That's my thing.
But I don't think they did.
Exactly.
I don't think they did.
This is like a colloquial.
Are we not going to talk about personal shit here in the therapy?
Well, so psychiatrists, like, they're doing an intake basically, and they have 3 sessions. I don't know if they have 3 sessions. Therapists have 3 sessions to do the intake. I don't know if psychiatrists do. They might have one like 90-minute session. I don't know. But in the intake, there is questions about sexual activity because it impacts your like clinical presentation, right? So if you're sexually active and you're having certain symptoms, like they would want you to get tested for STDs. And symptoms, I don't mean like your STDs are causing those symptoms, but like, let's say you have like a manic episode and like you're really sexually promiscuous during that episode, they would be like, get an STD. Test. If you're talking about, meeting up with like some random older guys, which happens more than you would think, like on psych units, then they would ask about like sexual activity. Like there's a lot of safety reasons to ask about sexual activity.
For her to frame it like this made me be like, well, yeah, it's weird if your therapist goes, are you a virgin? But to ask about sexual activity and sex is very normal.
Very normal. So it's really hard to gauge.
How old? I don't know this answer. Is there a age limit for when people can ask kind of sexual questions with minors?
No, there's not an age limit, but there is like if you're under a certain age, like we have to disclose what you share. Yeah. So like if you share something
under 16.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I got asked, this is kind of fun. So I did a drug like outpatient thing. This is a long time ago. And it was back in my heroin days. And when I did heroin, I would also do meth or coke or like whichever one I could find to wake up because I'm so tired from the heroin and so sleepy. And
baby.
The therapist, this just made me think of this, that like she asked me and it took me off guard. Didn't offend me at all. I was amused by it. But she said, can I ask you a really weird question? She goes, do you have sex with men at all because of the meth use? And I just like laughed because I'd never heard of that. Like, and I go, no, what the fuck are you talking about? Then she explained where it was coming from. But she was asking it was a curiosity. It really was not
clinically relevant.
No,
right. That's she could sense that I'm cool with that, obviously. But yeah. Is that wrong?
That's wrong.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know. So there's this thing too. Like I work with teens, right? So it's interesting because like all I have to do with a teenager is to like drop a cuss word and
you're cool.
Hell, I knew that. Yeah.
Right?
So with the 17-year-old, I said fuck once and she was bought in.
Yeah. So like there is, I think as a therapist, when you're trying to build rapport with adults, there is like pushing boundaries and pushing whatever to kind of like demonstrate like I'm not clinical and professional in a weird way. But I think like asking if you're a virgin is a weird, creepy question. And part of me is writing them off and being like, are you like really religious or a virgin? And that's why you put it in those terms.
Right.
Because like,
it's also
asking if you're sexually active feels totally different than asking if you're a virgin.
And appropriate.
Because asking if you're sexually active is like, is there anything clinically relevant I need to know about your sex life versus have you ever had sex? Sexually active doesn't mean you've never had sex. It means that you're not having sex right now and we don't need to talk about it.
And actually, I could imagine asking, are you sexually active with men or women? Like, I can imagine in some instances that actually would be clinically relevant.
Sometimes when teens are like venting to me about their dating life and their parent, if they're specifically venting about, hey, my parents don't like who I date or don't like what I'm doing, I always say to them, do you like boys, girls, or both?
Yes. Yeah.
And they're like, they say the answer. But it's so interesting because even saying boys, girls, or both instead of using like straight heterosexual, like all that shit, like boys, girls, or both just gets right to it. Yep. And kids are like, say the thing. And then if they say like both or the opposite or the same sex, then I'm like, do your parents know? And do you think they care?
Yeah. Even with adults, I tell them like, I don't really want to assume. So when you say like, when I have sex, I want to know who you're having sex with just so I can like, I don't want to assume you're having straight sex or whatever it is like, because I'm going to assume. And people actually appreciate that I don't assume.
So asking if someone is a virgin is fucking creepy. But if it wasn't stated like that and it was just like, hey, can I get sexual history, sexually active?
That's normal.
Because like, Also, this is specifically to women, I think, and maybe like queer men. But like there's a lot of women and queer men who have like very negative feelings about their sexual experiences. And that plays into their clinical presentation, specifically in their relationship. And they don't think it does because it's normalized to have like these sexual encounters that feel kind of gross. And so like
part of growing up.
it's not till you like kind of pick at it a bit. And I wouldn't do this in an early session, but it's not kind of till you pick at it a bit that you start to be like even asking like a boy who likes boys to be like boys, girls, or both. Like
that's a big question.
You might get some information around like, I tried to be with girls. Like there's a lot of like openings for you to share as much as you want to.
Yep.
I think if any therapist wants like graphic details of your sex life, that's creepy.
Yes. Unless you're talking specifically about like sex therapy or something pertaining to like, that's what you're in therapy for. But I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I agree.
Are we at a point in the world where there are parents, you said, do you like boys, girls, or both? And do your parents care? How common is it, do you think, for a straight couple to learn that their son is gay and not have, like, I'm not saying that the guy would be angry, but like, I think even I'm the biggest gay in town. I love gay people. I have no issue with like it, but I got to admit, I'd have
God forbid my son suck a dick.
Yeah, like I just have a little bit of a slight disappointment, probably, as unfair as that is. I wouldn't show him.
I feel like we all have a little bit of like homophobia.
So when I'm asking about kiddos, right? Like I don't actually care with what they say is true. I want to know your perception of your parents because your perception is doing damage, even if it's not accurate. So I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? So like if dad actually cares, but kid doesn't think he cares, it doesn't matter.
How often do you hear the kids say like, no, like my parents wouldn't care. Like
more than half the time.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's great to hear.
With kids who are gay, with kids who are trans, different.
Yeah.
Different.
That'd be tough. Yeah.
I have to send like these virtual meeting invites with the kid's name. And sometimes it's such a struggle because the kid is like,
they have a different name than their birth name.
They're choosing to go by this name with their peers. Like, let's say they're going by Jessica, but they're really Jessie. And then with their parents, they're going by Jessie. And then it's like, oh, what do I put? And it's like the meeting link I'm going to send everyone.
What do you do?
I write family therapy and then I write in my notes to myself on a piece of paper who the session is for. I just win it all together.
Yeah.
But I was hearing actually a lot of rhetoric around so what I've been hearing is that like trans rights and like trans issues played a lot more into the election than people were willing to admit.
I think that I was willing to admit. I didn't realize.
Yes.
I think a lot of left people and people who are like surrounded by the queer community didn't know. Right. Like we were all like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. But it was real for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And when I was starting to like research and look on Fox News and those kinds of things, the feedback was like this true fear and belief that like their kid could be like questioning who they are and they're going to go into a therapy session or with a school counselor and the school counselor is going to tell them they're trans and like their kid's going to transition at school.
And they're just off to the races.
Yeah.
People, that is the...
And like reinforcing something. And like there was all this stuff going online about how like therapists are like required to like reinforce like trans identity. And I was feeling kind of frustrated when I was hearing all of that. And I get what parents are saying around like, there shouldn't be anything that there's like thinking about your kid having a secret with all the adults at school that they don't have with you is fucking gross.
It's
like
horrible.
Thinking about your thinking about your kid having all the teachers and everybody at school knowing things about your kid that you don't know is sickening. Like
and
that part I get.
Your parenting.
Yes. Yeah. That part I get. I totally get that.
I 100% get that.
I totally get that. And like, I think there's this like misconception that like everyone at school is pushing the trans agenda.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is not happening.
Which is not happening.
Like if your kid goes by Jessica at school, like it's because they advocated and like they asked for it.
Yeah.
If you as a parent feel upset that they get to go by the name they asked for, then like that's it, buddy. Well, I get it. It's like that same thing of like there's a secret at school that nobody knows about, right? But I think there's a difference between your kids saying like, can you call me Jessica, to like the therapist at school being like, I think you're trans because you're wondering what's going on with you, right? Because like as somebody who's been trained to work with adolescents who are struggling with gender dysphoria and gender identity, work neither confirming nor denying. It's kind of like body neutrality, but for gender neutrality. Like it's this notion of like, this is you trying to figure out who you are as a person. And so like, I'm not I'm not going to react either way because I don't want to interfere with the process. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
We're exploring.
Where like, I don't want to interfere with the process. I'm not confirming nor denying that this is what's going on with you. I don't want to interfere. And I think a lot of parents think we're confirming.
Yes.
Like, you are a girl. You are Jessica. No. Like the problem in your life is your parents.
Even with adults, we're not confirming. We're just, and you know, there's a little bit more autonomy with adults, but you're not saying like, you're just opening it up to like their own curiosities.
And this is what I tell parents too. I'm like, sometimes being called Jessica versus Jessie is a test of how much you love me and you're failing the test.
Yes.
And when you dig your heels in, because kids at that age are trying to separate themselves from their parents. Mm-hmm. And so you make it a point of contention to be like, the way I can be myself fully is to be trans. Yes. And they wouldn't feel like that if you accepted them all the ways. Like, they're not really trans. It will burn out at some point. Mm-hmm. And parents are fully convinced that we're like, oh, you're not sure who you are and you feel depressed. You must be trans. I'm going to call you Jessica now. I'm going to go get you a skirt. I have one in the back. I can do blowouts. Do you want to blow out? I got some mascara for you. Like, parents are totally like thinking that that's what's going on. And for me, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with being trans, but if you're trans, it'll persist if you don't get attention for it. So we're going to give like no attention and see if it persists.
Mm-hmm. Can I
go ahead.
Push this on this? So I'm someone who comes, whoever's touching a coat, I don't know why, but
I don't know what's going on. I think it's my mic,
okay.
But
yeah, I think it's yours too.
But I feel confused.
It's okay. I think just
is it?
I think it's probably your mic cable or something. Like push it in a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll switch it after this, after the break.
Yeah.
Well, what the fuck? Now
what the fuck? Now it's worse than it was. Oh my gosh! Oh. This cable is on this cable. All right.
Oh,
cables
there we
are
go.
Crossing.
Okay.
We feel good now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the cables were crossing. I'm like, what happened?
I have a friend who is like the stereotypical alarmist, like, you know, that like the schools are trying to turn your kids gay, right?
Yeah.
And I truly couldn't be more like annoyed and disgusted with it. And I got to admit, when your kids start coming home from school and they start, chastising you for leaving a light on because you're killing polar bears. They start like all this shit, like where you can't help but notice it happens to be a leftist kind of cause, right? Even though, of course, you want to teach your kids to be, you know, to conserve and all that kind of stuff. But you start seeing a lot of it. And I do admit, like, you start, I don't know, it crops up all over. But I wanted to ask you, so I have a person I know who's in crisis in their family and in the middle of a divorce. You might have heard something about it.
Maybe.
And it just went off the rails recently. Okay. And basically the older child, who's 13-ish, and expressed like suicidal, like, you know, didn't do anything, just said something.
This is my bread and butter.
That quite frankly to me, you know, like, I think it's pretty clear it was more of a like an attention thing, but you got to take it very seriously, obviously.
They're trying to get needs met. That's what I say. That makes people feel better because attention feels judgmental. Mm-hmm. They're trying to get some needs met by saying suicidal stuff. What's the need?
But so then when the message that came back, because that person was out of town, came back from work, a work trip, and was told that by the child that the mom and the school counselor told the person that they're suicidal probably because of their dad's parenting style.
Wow.
And I'm like, does that sound like something a counselor would say?
No, and I wouldn't trust that the mom or the kid said it. I would talk to the counselor directly. Yeah. Because I also think that there are things that transpire in session and then kid and parent, you know, leave it being like, they agreed with us.
That
doesn't sound like a counselor thing to say at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, would it be unethical, would you say?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would.
That's what I thought. I just wasn't.
Yeah. And I think like there's a difference between mirroring back and being like, so I'm hearing you say that like at dad's house, you feel worse than saying like dad's causing you to be suicidal. Like those are totally different things, right?
Yeah.
And then I think the mirroring back is like asking questions. So here's this other thing. I think therapists sometimes fuck up on this. Not sometimes, often. When the mom is saying the dad's abusive or a problem, a lot of the therapists just believe them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They don't do any checking.
And so like I think you know, what I would say for the dad is like the dad should be a part of those sessions. And like, even if he doesn't want to be with the mom, then the dad and the kid should meet with that same therapist without the mom to have those conversations. And I think the dad should approach the therapist. I would be can we meet one-on-one and talk about this and see what the therapist has to say? Because I'm going to guess from what you told me about the situation, this mom's pretty manipulative. That the mom's spinning it as the therapist agreed.
And doing it all over the place. And I'm like, what do you do in that situation when they're starting to try to poison those relationships? It's like, wow, that's scary. It's really scary.
It's not starting. It's been happening.
It's been happening long time.
It's definitely been happening. Not even with just them, but just in general. Like parents don't pick that up out of nowhere. You either have the value that like parents should be aligned, or you have the value that you and the other parent are competing. Like that doesn't change. And so it sounds like a competition, right?
1,000%, yeah.
But I don't think that I as a therapist who have parents who are literally abusive to those kids never say like, oh, so your parent makes you want to kill yourself? Ever. It's a lot of like reflecting back to the kid to be like, you say like you feel worse at moms. It sounds like it's because you feel helpless. Like she doesn't listen. Like we're always focusing on like
what they're giving.
You're telling me you don't like this behavior, not your parent is the devil.
Yeah, right. I mean, it seems crazy to me
That's also like
that any parent would vilify one against the other.
It is crazy.
Like grooming behavior. Not literally, but it's very like separating. It's very gross.
It makes your kid really vulnerable. That's for sure.
Yeah, it makes them act out and do this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. We're back after our live.
Which was fun.
To talk about prison brides. Why do we think a therapist is obsessed with reality TV? Don't I get enough drama in my life?
I feel like part of it is that it's actually easier. Part of it is that it's easier to consume.
It's mindless.
It's pithy, kind of like, I don't want to say stupid drama.
It is stupid.
It's like real. Is it real people shit? But
yes, it is. Some of them.
But it's just easier to watch than watching like the Gabriel Hernandez documentary and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, you really took it there. I was thinking more like rom-coms, but yeah.
Oh, oops. I got to go to the nth degree. Oh.
So Rachel was over on Saturday and I made her watch a couple episodes of Prison Brides.
Thank God.
It came out in 2024. And then I finished the season without you.
What happened? About the man that I said was fine.
Yes, the man you said was fine. We're going to talk about him next. So basically the theme of this show is like these women are meeting men in prison and some of the men are being released in the near future. They actually get released at the beginning of the shooting of the reality show. Some of the men are like not going to be released in the next 10 years, but like their partner thinks that they're innocent. So they're doing like appeals for them.
Camera. Is this my camera?
Yes.
Won't be released for 10 years.
There is one couple. She's the most delusional. I don't even want to talk about her because it doesn't feel legitimate and authentic. It feels like bullshit, but she's like
they're faking it?
She feels fake to me. She's like saying that, you know, like the earliest release date he has is 39 and when she's 39, she's going to like freeze her eggs and like be with him. But like the latest date is like 20 years after that. And she thinks he's innocent, even though his mom and best friend testified against him and whatever. So I think like it's jokes is how I feel about the whole thing. But there was two couples that I wanted to talk about. The first one, her name is Svea. She's from Germany. She's like a midwife in her early 30s.
She's a bad bitch.
And she's a mom. She's like very pretty. She's with this guy, Joseph, who's like on the tail end of spending like over a decade in prison. I wish I could remember what he did.
Institutionalized as fuck. Wait, quick question. What is the number of years you have to be in prison before you're considered institutionalized?
I think it depends on like nope, not him. I think it depends on like how early you went to prison.
Fair.
And then like how long you were there. I think like the combo matters, right? Because I think like doing 5 years in prison from like 30 to 35 is really different than doing 5 years from like 18 to 23. Like those are developmental years, right?
And institutionalized meaning like you got those prison habits. Like you eat like this, like.
Well, and not only that, but like you feel more comfortable in prison than you do in like the real world. You feel like you are built to be successful in like a prison community than you do to be like outside of prison.
Exactly.
So something that was really interesting about this couple as they progressed throughout the season was that like she was very much okay with like the fact that he was in prison and like needed to get out and he had these charges, right? Like clearly felony charges if you're there for more than a decade.
And they're the same age.
They're around the same age. She's really pretty.
Yeah, she's really pretty.
And the thing that really threw me is that, so this guy, she meets him when he's in prison. She knows he's in prison. And then when he gets out of prison, she has these like incredibly high standards.
Right. I forgot about that. She was like, don't do this. Don't do that.
She was like, I need you to get a job. Like, I need you to catch up to me. I need you to get an apartment. I need you to do all of these things. Right.
And I have me pick up all the trash.
And it was just really interesting because I'm like, you thought he was going to get out of prison and hit the ground running.
Which is like, I think it's like a microcosm of how people think about people in prison.
Say more.
Like, I think people think that when you're in prison, they're really getting rehabilitated, or even like they're going to come out and just want to do better, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work like that. Like, you get out and you're probably more fucked up than you were going in a lot of ways. And there's no social support. I think people think that there's all these like programs and things like clamoring for felons, and it doesn't work like that.
Yes.
There's no support. And so I think they're expected to get their life together when it's harder to get your life together after prison probably than it was before.
Right. And the woman who's with him, he's probably like in his mid to late 30s. She's in her early 30s, I think. And like she lives in Germany. She's a German citizen. She's biracial. She had like a Nigerian dad, a German mom.
A lot of them are from overseas, which I thought was really interesting.
Me too. She's like a midwife. And I was just thinking to myself, like,
Is she moneyed? Does she have a lot of money?
She's like middle class, I think. Her family.
Which couple are we talking about right now?
Joseph and Svea.
Okay, gotcha. Got it. I got it coming up.
Okay. But I think one of the things that I was picking up on while I was watching the show, it wasn't just her, was that like, because I'm thinking like, why do you want this? Like, what about this is appealing to you to like engage with someone who can't meet you in person for like a really long time. Or if you do see them, it's like for a short 2-hour visit. And then to like be with someone as they're like restarting their life in adulthood. Like, what about that is appealing?
It's all the things that we would think in dating that we would like run from.
Yes.
You would hope.
Something that clicked for me while I was watching her and him on the show was that the women are the center of their world. So like when the men are in jail, the women are the most amazing, purposeful, best thing in their life. Like there is nothing that competes with that text or phone call from that partner, which isn't reality in the real world. In the real world, like your partner has this really full life, but in like prison world, your partner is totally like, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. Yes. He's rewriting.
Is she pregnant? No, that's just their hands.
That's just their hands.
She's fire.
For those of you listening, she's like on the screen. It's him. He's like a dark-skinned black man. She's like a biracial black woman. Rachel was like, he's fine.
No,
me and my man were like,
he's fine.
Ew.
He looks fine here too.
She's like a 10.
She's a 10.
I don't really understand why she's with him until I watched the show and I realized that like it's Rachel and her man.
That's my man. Don't we look kind of cute?
You do.
Doesn't he look kind of lit though?
Yeah.
He looks kind of like a little New York, like he could be from Brooklyn or something.
Brooklyn. So then you realize that like
wait, I have to take a picture.
No, I'll send it to you. It's gone.
I got it for you. Don't worry about it.
You realize that she's like, she wants a project. Like there are women who want projects. There are women who want men that they feel like strongly above and better than. Like there's no competition, and they're there to like kind of mother them.
You know what's so interesting is I think that you are correct. I had like this is an uneducated thing a little bit, but I was like, it's almost like extreme avoidance.
Say more.
Like the women that are choosing them are like me. The women, me. Damn, she and I kind of like, it's giving sister wife.
Yes.
There's a reason I made that. Right?
I'm fucking crying. She and I have the same type. I feel like a lot of the women, it's the perfect way to have connection without like needing to really commit. You can kind of back out. Like they could technically ghost these men.
Yeah.
Like she could go across if it really didn't work.
It's not vulnerable.
It's not really vulnerable. Like you get to go and kind of also, it's almost like this like quote unquote like American experience, which is kind of like fetishy to me. Like they're kind of like finding these like rough American men and they're going to rehabilitate. It's just, there's something like not actually that connected for me.
So there's like this way where they can like be very into the men or very committed to the relationship emotionally without knowing there's much they have to do.
And it actually kind of relates to what you're saying, I think, is that they're the center of their world. So they don't have, like these women they're getting time and money maybe flying over there.
Yeah.
But like, I'm thinking like, I would have a little boo on the side. You know what I mean? Like back in
Yes, you
England.
are.
But you know what I mean? Like, nigga, you think I'm like, what? That's
Well, yeah, and these are these women. So some of these women, because the men are in like a federal prison facility, even if they get married, they don't get conjugal visits. So they're also signing up to be celibate in theory for like 10 plus years.
and you brought this up, or maybe Jay, one of you brought this up is that they're getting, for the ones that are getting married, they're getting a green card without having like to
Be in a relationship.
ascend. Like that's
Locked in.
It's very Nigerian man of them.
Yeah, but then they also have to like move to Ohio and like be by themselves in this shitty new state. Like,
But it's interesting that it's women from like London or like I'm like, what are you doing, bro?
Yes.
It's off to me. There's something off about it. Like her specifically. I'm like, but you don't have to live like this.
She doesn't. So they actually end up breaking up because
I gotta watch.
Okay.
Tell me. No, tell me. Ruin it.
So he gets a job in an apartment and she's like super proud of him. He quits his job to become an artist.
No, I break up with him.
Yeah. And he does like an art exhibition and like literally he signed a lease and then he ends up getting evicted and going back to jail because whoever he had like in the apartment with him helping him pay rent after he became an artist, they got into a fist fight. So he gets like released, but she's kind of like,
I'm off it.
oh my God, you're not excelling in the way I thought you were when you left the hospital, when you left that's my job, when you left jail. Like, oh my, because I also deal with that with parents. Like I literally have parents who are like, I don't know if you can believe it, but like I spent 4 days with this kid giving them attention and their suicidal thoughts didn't stop. So like, I think they need to be sent to a facility because there's not much more that I could do. Like literally I deal with those parents. That's why I'm like having
When people say, do you think there's bad parents? Yes, I think there's bad parents.
I think there's bad parents for sure.
Wow. So she gave up too. I mean, as she should have. It's the correct thing for them both.
Yeah. I sent Gabe I also kicked my headphones out again. I'm sorry, Gabe. It's like right under my feet. I sent Gabe the art or whatever that he had done. It wasn't even that like it was bad art. I'm just like, how immature do you have to be to like think that you are going to like turn a profit within a month when you need to pay rent?
He came out of prison.
I actually have some news for you on that.
Well, and he was like, nobody believes in me. Like, I'm a real artist. And so listen to this. He called her like 3 days before the art show, or maybe like a week before the art show. And he was like, I need you to come down for my art show. And she was like, I can't like get time off and fly from Germany in this week.
To the South.
He was like, well, if you can't support me, I don't know how I feel type shit. Imagine a man being like, mind you, she's paying for her own ticket. He clearly doesn't have like money like that. Imagine a man being like, you can't drop guap on this trip. You don't support me after you hold him down through jail.
How long have they been together while they were in jail?
I think it was like 3 years. I think it was like
she
3
really
years.
wasn't talking to anybody else.
No, I don't think that. I hope not. I pray.
I fucking hope not, girl.
I pray that wasn't it.
And
he sold $2,700 worth of art, which is pretty impressive.
that is pretty impressive.
But then he said that he put $3,500 into it, which makes sense. You have to like do all the prints, do all the stuff, do the space. Like, so I think she realized like he was delusional. But to me, I think you're right. Like it's safe for them. It feels good emotionally to talk to this guy where they have all the power, all the control. They literally can't see other women.
You're the most beautiful girl. I love you so much. I can't wait to fuck you. I can't wait to be with you. I can't wait to have like they're like it's like
Obsessive.
Yes. You're the only thing.
I've got some breaking news for you, Javae, that you didn't hear before.
What?
On the art thing.
Okay.
Get ready to be shocked. Read this comment.
Yeah, you read it. I can't see.
I hate to burst any bubbles, but his artwork is not original at all. He has no knowledge of the visual manipulation of space. He is childish and delusional. Abstract art is the evolution of years of art. He is more like a 9-year-old with colored pencils and a paint by number set. If you can imagine what gallery owners and high dollar patrons would say, there is nothing wrong at all with artwork. In the end, it's up to you, the beholder, how valuable you think it is. But the art market is blank. People don't need, I'm going to guess it's the art market is something shallow. People don't need art. It sales bend with the economy. The average person has little desire for the artwork nor the money to buy expensive pieces. You can easily buy beautiful prints online to decorate your house. Most people struggle to pay bills and disposable income is so small pool to rely on. He is arrogant and ungrateful, just trashing the job after they took a chance on a serious ex-con and paid him well enough to rent the very nice apartment. He probably plans on squatting until they put him out. Good for a few months. He is childish and irresponsible. He has made zero effort to educate himself about any art theory and history. He won't make it if you can take that to the bank.
I'm sorry. There was another part where he copied it. Or that it's not original.
Yeah.
Basically. Like there's another comment. I grabbed the wrong fucking one in my haste here, but
no, and it probably is unoriginal, but here's the thing.
No, I'm saying like copied.
You could literally You could literally be fucking Basquiat, and to think you're gonna turn a profit in 30 days is crazy. Stupid.
Basquiat didn't make a
like it was so immature. But when you met a guy who was in prison, what did you think was going to happen?
Just control. She didn't want him to get out.
It's really like, I think they think it's like the perfect man, and they dream sell in prison.
They do.
I'm learning all this. I'm blah, 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 blah. It's
Yeah.
got me right. I'm going to be whatever. Like,
Yeah. And okay, so this is our last couple. It is Erin and Michael. That's the white girl, white guy. So they were together for like several years in prison. He gets out of prison. He was
the one who couldn't stop hugging babies.
He was what you would call institutionalized. No, not that.
Not that one.
Not that one. I didn't send you that? My bad.
Not the pictures of the people.
Oh.
So I've been getting those myself.
That one.
Them.
Okay.
Yes, Erin and Michael. So
can we take a couple pictures like this?
Yes.
Or our next therapy pictures, like
I
prom
got
pictures?
you. I got you.
You just stand behind me though.
So he goes to jail. We have his rap sheet. That's what I said.
Yes. Yep, I got that.
I'm gonna pull it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just because it was like interesting.
Can I say something really inappropriate? He looks like he only likes anal.
He does. But he doesn't. He did robbery, theft, breaking and entering.
I can't.
What is RSP?
I don't know.
Let's see. And I'll go up here.
Where do you see that? Sorry, guys.
Yeah, okay, breaking and entering. RSP. What is that?
I don't know. Theft. Right. So this was his last sentence. Robbery. When I think
theft,
of robbery, theft, breaking, entering, I'm not going to lie. I think drugs.
Of course.
I think drugs, right?
Is nuts.
He's pretty fat, though.
He is pretty fat. So this was something I love that you said this, Gabe. I love that you said this, Gabe, because he ends up turning out to be a meth addict. And my exact response to my boyfriend was, but he's fat. And then he said, prison food has high sodium. I was like, what?
Yeah, he probably lost 60 pounds since it's happened.
Yeah.
Since he's been out.
So basically what happens, he gets out of jail. He's been in jail like for the last 20 years on and off. He gets out of jail. She's like ready and set up for him. So a lot of these women, what they also do, also a control thing. They come out and then they're like the house you're paroled to. So like you need this to all go well because like you and her have to get along because you need this stable housing to like be consistent and like go back to your probation officer with this. So it's also like a thing. So she comes, she gets set up. She lived in Australia. I thought I already was like, you're a trash woman. She has like a kid who's close to 10 years old, I think. And she just left her kid to come get set up with this felon.
Also, like, bitch, you can't find a felon white man in Australia.
Crazy.
It's the land of felons.
But apparently, so she was born in the U.S., so she already had citizenship, which actually is like a knock against her. I'm like, what are you using him for? So she comes here, gets set up. He gets out of prison, and he's using meth. She finds like a needle in his work bag and like meth.
I need to watch this.
She needs a needle and meth in his work bag. Been there, girl. Not the meth, but the needles. I found needles in bags before and lost my shit.
Yeah.
We broke up right after. It is scary. So then right after they break up, all of a sudden, she said that they got into like a bad enough argument that she had to call the police, and she like snitched on him for using meth, and he's back in jail.
Oh, that bitch.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I felt the same way.
No, that's insane.
There has been some like leakings on Reddit that there might have been some domestic violence, and that was part of it. So if that's the case, I take it back. But if it really is just that she was like, I can't believe you did this to me, and called your parole officer, she's evil.
Yeah, that's like grow up, bitch.
It's like she had to make her ideal man again.
Yes.
Yeah, turn you back into Prince Charming.
Yeah.
Yes. And then left him and is like, I have to go home. And so like,
that's why she turned him in.
Yes. And then, like, there are some whisperings of domestic violence. So if the domestic violence is real and you actually felt afraid, that is totally different than, like, screw you. You broke your probation. I'm done with you.
What do you think about in general? Because I've heard this multiple times coming from drug culture. Mm-hmm. I've heard multiple, like, guys' wives. And I actually didn't necessarily go through this, but where the wife says, if I find anything, like the person's like put their shit back together. If I ever see it again, I'm calling the cops.
Snitch.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I ever see it
just
again,
seems unhealthy.
if I see you again, you're out.
Yes.
Calling the cops, that's enough for me. I just can't think of any good scenarios from that. And I think what people are hoping is that like you'll get enough legal trouble that you'll be forced to like make these changes. But like often that's not what happens. You like feel more depressed with all of these legal consequences. You want to use more, and then like you go to jail and like
and you're letting everybody
aren't
down.
being rehabilitated at all, and you're using in jail.
Yeah, it's
like,
laughably naive.
And
it is.
whatever she says, it isn't true because she just wanted to punish him.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all for us. I know we had to finish by a certain time.
Do you want to just do the what's it called?
The Hunter Biden?
Yeah, I feel like we have to discuss that.
Okay, go ahead. You were really upset that Joe Biden
I just feel like this is how we can end the fucking episode, but I just feel like as the president of the United
just to
States,
say it overall. So
go. Sorry.
Joe Biden pardoned Hunter Biden for his crimes.
Who is his son, unless other people didn't know.
I looked up, and
we can give it full context too, because I just did this for another show.
Go ahead.
So essentially, like really what the big deal is that, and I can't remember who the first president was, but it was more recent than I thought, where presidents have started doing this thing. Like I think Clinton was the first one who pardoned his brother.
Yeah.
Where it was like really ugly, but in the 80s, 70s, before that, you would have got judged and you would have been kind of annihilated. And then Trump started basically selling pardons and being really loose with it, super hideous. Like as in Roger Stone was like telling people dollar amounts. Like, give us $1 million and we'll get you pardoned. Well,
that's like what Kim Kardashian was doing. People were like, how did she get all these people out? And I was like, well, she wasn't just meeting with them. She was giving their campaign money to like get people out of prison.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Which makes total sense, actually. Yeah. For her.
Yeah.
So then basically Biden, all this time he's been saying he will not pardon Hunter, like, and to where when reporters would ask, he'd go, stop asking the question. We're not going to do it, blah, blah, blah. Oh. And then as soon as he lost, he pardons him right on his way out the door, right?
Yeah.
And it's and he said, his quote was, Hunter would have never been it was a prosecuted thing if it wasn't his son. So, yeah, exactly.
It's not that I have, or I feel like I haven't seen anybody have an issue. I'm speaking kind of about Black people, I guess, on the internet. I haven't seen folks say like, I have an issue with him pardoning his son. Anybody would pardon their fucking son. It's that he said that he wouldn't, and that he did all these other things that personally irritates me. Like he doesn't give a fuck about any of the other policy about, and maybe he's not supposed to. Like he's the president. Maybe like, I don't know. It just, there's something so fucking hypocritical and blatant about it. And it's just like, I feel like it's just such a fuck you to people. And it is a fuck you to Democrats. And I get that he wanted to be like, maybe like, fuck you to Democrats. And you put me in this position and you turned your back on me. So I'm going to do something for me and my family. I fucking get that. And I don't know. I hope he does some other fucking pardons. Maybe this isn't the last one, but like leaving on this note is insane.
What do you guys think about just the fact that, because I've seen people in comments who go, they don't play by the rules, so why should we? Like,
that shit's weird. I don't even like. It's
to
not
me.
Even
This set us back. Like, could set the Democrats back. Like, it's
how
actually
much farther back?
Right.
We already lost the election.
Oh, right, exactly. Back? And this ain't helping.
I mean, like, I don't know. I think anybody who's writing for the Democrats is gonna excuse this, and anybody who hates the Democrats is gonna use this as ammo. I told Rachel, and she texted me, "Buckle up for 6 weeks of political pundit bullshit about this."
Bro.
I think there's a lot of people in the middle, though. You know what or who are just kind of like.
I think a lot of people in the middle who are disgusted by both. I'm not saying that that's not real, but I'm just like, is this really going to be this way?
No,
because I think like people our age who are very far left or are kind of in the middle, like it's about like systemic issues. I feel like it's more about like this proves our point.
That's what I would say. I think it's more about like pushing away from politics and just in general being disgusted with everyone's
I just don't even feel like I just don't get it. Other like he's doing, I feel like there's a couple different things. He did that. He did like the bookstore thing. There was one or two other things that he did where people are like, what is he doing at the end of his presidency? I'm kind of forgetting, I think. But like there just seems to be no, even the people, there seems to be no like mission to like how to end his presidency or how to end his like.
Well, what's the point? The only reason to care about like how you end your presidency is legacy and the Dems. And I'm sure he feels like fuck the Dems and his legacy is screwed.
And fuck Kamala, I think. I think that he and Kamala are not fucking with each other.
I think it really like, doesn't matter to him. I think it was like a selfish move on his part.
Yeah.
And he's doing it because he does it. And I don't think he really cares. And the people are going to use this as evidence. I already felt like that. I was talking to Rachel about it and I'm like, I don't feel like the conversation about Trump has been really about pardons. I think it was when he was in his presidency, but I think people have kind of let that go.
Yeah, they have. It was a story when it was happening and then,
Yeah, so I think like this will also kind of be the thing. What do you guys think about him saying like, well, part of the reason he's being persecuted for like owning a gun and lying about being like either a felon or a drug addict when he applied for the gun and tax evasion is because he's my son. Do you think there's any validity to that? That like he's being persecuted because he's his son?
I don't.
No,
because he's been fucking up for a long fucking time. He was doing this shit before he was president.
That's for sure. I mean, that's 100% true. I'm
think
just saying,
like maybe people like are looking at it more. It's.
Well, I think that's what he's saying is like nobody would care if he wasn't Hunter Biden. That's kind of what he's saying. It's not that he didn't do anything wrong. It's that like this wouldn't be on the federal stage if he wasn't Hunter Biden.
That's fair, but it's like but you are President Biden and he is Hunter Biden, and it's like let my son off, but you didn't give a fuck about all these other fucking sons.
What sons?
Like the crime bill sons that you put in fucking jail.
Oh, here we go. Black. All right, now we're on Black Twitter.
But it's true. But I'm not even saying like it's a fair, but it's just like a feeling that I think people are allowed to have that fucking like, fuck you.
But Biden didn't pretend to care about black people that much. Like, what was that? Like, everyone's acting like Biden was like pro us. Like, I don't remember that. I remember.
You're not black if you don't.
I don't think it's about being.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, but I don't think
that's what he said.
I don't think it's about him being pro black. I think it's just like we're like, can we just like hypocrisy is bothersome. It's annoying to have another person just be, like blatantly like. At least that's what it is for me. Like, I think...
No, the lying bothers me. It's kind of like how he said he wasn't going to run again, and he did.
And I shouldn't be surprised, and it shouldn't really get to me.
I'm not saying all of that.
No, I know. But I think it's just like, really? Like, it's really just like, it's just like really audacious and white. And I'm just like, of course he did. Like,
and white.
It is. Like, anybody would, but it's just like played in our fucking face. And I think it's just
white as in to like center your family and nobody else.
Yes. Which is a people thing. I'm not saying that black folks do that either.
It's 100%.
I agree. But it's just
like when you zoom out and you're like, his first wife died, his other kid died, this is only kid left.
On a family, I get it.
I'm just kind of, I'm not surprised. Like it's
not as bad as selling.
It's not as bad as selling.
It's not as bad as selling. It's I don't think it's a fucking mortal sin. Like everybody's like, I would pardon my kids.
It's also interesting though, because the Dems are like kind of the gun control party. So to think that like he doesn't want Biden or like Hunter to like, reap the causes of like lying on his like buying.
I just wish he just would have done it earlier. I don't even know why. It's just annoying to me that he's doing it now, that it's now in the fucking cycle, that it's now and I didn't even like his presidency. So it's not like I'm riding that he did such a great job, but like.
Do you have somebody in your mind you wish he would pardon? I wish he would pardon.
Who's the big cause right now? Is there anyone?
I wish he would pardon everybody who is like federally liable for marijuana.
Yes.
That's like who I wish he would pardon. I think that would be like a great pardon. I feel like it wouldn't even be like a selfish Democratic thing. It would be like now in most states, it's not an issue.
I agree.
So like, and obviously like that doesn't count for like people who are like doing violent crimes along with like their marijuana selling and using. But like, I think nonviolent, like substance abusers with specifically marijuana because of the hypocrisy around like a lot of states profiting off of it. That'd be awesome.
I mean, that's how I feel. I was like, there's all these like minor offenses or people like, I'm like, that would be, and it's not even for him to think about. I'm not even saying that was his decision. Like maybe it was like, he had a family talk and they were like, let's do this. But from an
you think he had a great Thanksgiving knowing he was dropping that ball? You think his son was like, Dad, you're the best.
Oh yeah. They had some heart to hearts that felt great for him, I'm sure. And like as a person, I do get it. But as like a campaign manager or a staffer or something, like y'all should have like there was no, you weren't going to offset this with anything, and maybe they don't care, and I get that.
It feels like a fuck you. I don't think they care.
Can you imagine being I know it's not related to his charges for this one, but like Can you imagine being a sex worker who's locked up? And this guy was like just a prolific like sex worker, and then he's getting out of prison. But you
it's
know,
just such a fuck you, and that's really all it is. It's not that he shouldn't have done it. It's not that anybody else would have done it differently. It's just such a fuck you.
It's further proof that the Democrats engage in the same systemic issues that we say the Republicans do, and that the Democrats say they're better than the Republicans. However, I think the issue is people ignore the nuance. Like I do think selling pardons is worse.
It is worse. It is
like
worse.
I think, and it's not like a tit for tat of like, it's not me saying that like they aren't all bad in some way. I think there's just like an accepted level of greediness and egregiousness that Trump has surpassed.
Agreed.
Like I think I don't look at like any politician as a saint.
No,
that's not what I'm thinking. So,
but this is a further desensitization for us, like as our culture. It's that sucks the worst. I think
part of me is kind of happy that he did it because it was like, okay, like maybe we'll finally like, okay, if they want to play that way, we'll play that way. Like maybe we can stop acting so fucking high and mighty.
I think people feel like, I don't think anyone feels like finally the Dems are going tit for tat because this doesn't benefit anybody but Hunter Biden.
Literally, that's the fucking point.
All right, I think we can end on that.
Sorry, yeah.
Our food is here.
Yeah, my cake is here. I need to go eat it.
All right.
Where are you? Where